Gamer is a 2009 movie starring sexy muscle action man Gerard Butler. It's the brainchild of directing duo Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor, who are also responsible for such works as Crank and Crank 2, where other sexy muscle action man, Jason Statham,
Barack Obama,
plays an assassin that has to constantly keep his adrenaline high to stay alive.
The humble green screen.
They also directed one of the Ghost Rider movies, and he's in Fortnite now.
So we gotta get a dub with Ghost Rider. We just have to.
Now, Gamer scored a 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb and an overall 27 on Metacritic, with such reviews as 1 out of 10, what a load of rubbish, 1 out of 10, it's offensively stereotypical, 1 out of 10, about as entertaining as having your legs amputated, and 2 out of 10, seriously? And when it comes to box office performance, Gamer had a budget of $50 million and on release managed to pull in a whopping $42 million. Now, I've already made my opinion on the use of the word gamer in popular media pretty clear, but when I was making that video, this movie just seemed to keep popping up all over the place. And at first, I just forcefully pushed it to the back of my mind, acting like it never existed. But recently, I did the unthinkable. I watched it, and boy was it something. The movie opens with Gerard's character, Cable, running and gunning his way through a derelict building, riddled with baddies, which in theory sounds like a pretty action-packed opening to a film. Except, it seems that the editors were in the process of having a fucking seizure. I mean, the amount of quick cuts, glitch effects, and jarring camera movements in the opening sequence alone is enough to make you stop watching the film in the first 5 minutes. It actually got physically difficult to understand what was happening at points due to all the random shit all over the screen and the quick unnecessary cutaway to some bloke teabagging a dead body.
fucking teabag them!
Not to mention the colour grading looks like somebody just got the saturation slider on Premiere Pro and slammed that shit down to 5%. I mean, God knows what drugs these two were on in the studio, but hook me up with some of that shit ASAP. After the vomiting-inducing editing montage sequence, Cable eventually manages to make his way to the save point, and the title screen rolls.
Gamer.
Look guys, it's the word. The cool word is on the screen.
That's me! That's me! I'm on the video! Look!
On his way back from the battleground, we learn that Cable's real name is John Tellman, and overhear one of the soldiers mentioning that he only has 3 battles left.
So you got 3 battles left.
But flash forward to the regularly saturated real world, where popular late night host Gina Parker Smith is excited to have an interview with billionaire businessman Ken Castle, played by Michael C. Hall.
We live in society.
Castle found most of his fortune through the creation of Society, an online open-world sim environment and an obvious parody of Second Life or that weird PlayStation home game. But rather than players controlling digital characters, they take control of real, living, breathing humans.
Hey everyone.
That have volunteered to be part of the Society in exchange for money.
Society took the world by storm, becoming the #1 guilty pleasure of billions.
You can get paid to be controlled, or you can pay to control. Rickety-dickety-doo.
An overly sexual environment where people walk around with usernames like Vagina Blender and My Balls Hurt. And apparently, all of this somehow made Castle the richest man in the world.
And generating one of the world's largest private fortunes, surpassing Bill Gates practically overnight.
But Castle is ultimately on the show to reveal his latest business venture, Slayers.
Slayer.
A somewhat similar format to Society, but this time it's a first-person shooter setting where all the characters are real death row inmates that use real weapons to really kill each other. And for some reason, the audience applaud this idea.
Slayers. If society let us live through others, Slayers would let us die through others.
Thanks to a shitty animation, we learn that the prisoners have a nanocell planted into their brain that allows them to be remotely controlled by the player. Castle also explains that prisoners can volunteer to become a Slayer, and in exchange, if they manage to survive 30 matches under the control of their player, they earn freedom, and their prison sentence is revoked.
I'm sure you know that every last one of our Slayers is a bona fide death row inmate. Each one offered the chance to participate as an alternative to their sentence. You stay alive for 30 sessions, you get set free. That's not a bad goddamn deal.
We also learn that Cable is one of these slayers, being controlled by 17-year-old epic gamer Simon Silverton, which explained the opening sequence with Cable being controlled through the battle by Simon, with Cable being the best performing slayer on the programme with 27 battles survived out of the needed 30. After the interview, Gina and Ken's conversation is suddenly interrupted when the studio's LCD screens are hacked by activist organisation Humans, run by no other than Ludacris.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I go by the name of Ludacris. I'm the third little piggy, pies and cakes. I make niggas eat dirt and fart dust.
Who sends a message to the public stating that Castle's mind control technology will eventually end up being used to control people against their will, basically just calling Castle a piece of shit.
King Castle wants you to believe that you are living in a better, safer world. He's a liar. Mind control is slaves.
Mr. Castle, we have no idea where this is.
Josh.
We will all be his dog if we allow this evolution to continue.
But Castle doesn't seem particularly fazed by Ludacris's criticism though, because he goes on to flirt with Gina and then suck his magical lollipop that disappears between camera angles. In a strange change of mood, we cut to the bleak white sand dunes of the prison system, where one of the prisoners has managed to cut free and caves one of the officers' skull in with a rock. He gets caught, runs away, and then shoots into the sky with absolutely no explanation at all. Meanwhile, Cable is experiencing a generic movie flashback moment to spending time with his family, before being rudely interrupted by this pointless side character with a gammy tooth.
Colgate Total has complete 12-hour protection.
He asks Cable how he ended up in prison, prompting yet another flashback where we see a man dead at a table. Unknown to Cable, outside of the prison, his wife, Angie, is running low on money. So of course, she decides to volunteer to join the society to get some extra cash.
Great!
And you know what that means? Another excuse to push an overly sexual montage full of nudity and random shock imagery. But if Angie has joined the society as an actor, who is the player controlling her? Well, it's none other than a fat, morbidly obese, sweaty Redditor that dunks his waffles in maple syrup before shoving them down his gullet. I guess this was the filmmaker's take on a stereotypical basement-dwelling gamer. Because why not release a movie with the title Gamer and then go on to insult the look of a gamer in the movie called Gamer?
Nice job, team.
He eventually manages to control Angie to flirt with some random bloke wearing a plastic pig snout.
Lucky you. You met me.
But before the sweaty Reddit man can get his nut off, he gets a screamer from Ludacris.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen?
Cable is also visited in prison by a mysterious figure that hands him the crumpled up image of his daughter that Angie was looking at earlier on. After signing an autograph, he gets jabbed in the hand with a strange device, seemingly taking a blood sample.
To prove it's authentic, makes it worth more.
But before Cable even has time to ask why, the mysterious figure has vanished. Back on the battleground, Cable takes part in his 28th game in yet another pointless and unnecessary gory action scene filled to the brim with excessive gunfire and bloodshed for shock value. But we do get a clearer view of Simon actually controlling Cable this time. Eventually, we learn that Cable won the match, managing to slaughter 132 other Slayers throughout the game. And it turns out that millions of people around the world were tuned in to watch Cable brutally murder people on TV. You know, just cheering with a cold beer while a man gets his head blown off with a rifle. Woo, fuck yeah. And they clearly just used footage from huge real world events and played it off like these were massive crowds watching Slayers live on TV. So as the 28th battle rounds to a close, we finally get properly introduced to Cable's player and puppet master of sorts, Simon, as he wanders into his bedroom that is just a comically large 360 LCD screen. Now I get what they were going for with this. It's kind of like that Black Mirror episode where Daniel Kaluuya's character spends most of his time in a room made entirely of screens, except that episode was good and well written, and this movie is shit.
Gay. Gay, tardily gay.
Somebody had to write this line into the script. Anyway, Simon makes contact with the likes of Sticky Muffin and Cum Dumpsters, where they engage in a highly intellectual conversation.
You wanna see our
Breasts.
Simon?
Yes.
Boobies.
I think it's pretty safe to say that Neville, Dean and Taylor are a pair of raging horny perverts that can only create movies that feature
Breasts.
every 5 minutes and hope that that makes up for the painfully far-fetched bad storytelling. And you know what? I think it's working.
You earned a platinum medal.
Eventually, after Simon's sexual-driven nonsense, the screen seems to abruptly cut to a video. It depicts the same interrogation room from Cable's flashback in the prison, but this time we see a couple of frames that reveal that Cable was ultimately the killer, but his motive is still unclear. A voice explains to Simon that he can download walkie-talkie.exe, a hack that when enabled will allow Simon to communicate with Cable during their matches via voice chat, a feature that isn't legally an option within the Slayers program.
If you want to talk to Cable, we can show you how. If you want to talk to Cable, we can show you how.
Meanwhile, at Ken Castle's base of operations, Castle and his men discuss Cable's recent performance and how he managed to win his 28th consecutive game. It becomes pretty quickly apparent that Castle feels threatened by how well Cable is performing match after match and unveils a plan to kill Cable off. Terry Crews. Gamer Terry Crews is his master plan.
Man, gaming all day. I got these headphones too. I'm trying to set them up.
After unveiling Terry Crews, Castle makes the point that the one thing that is limiting Cable's performance in matches is his ping.
Yeah, Cable's a perfect soldier. He's a tactical killing computer. His only vulnerability is the Nanex itself, the ping, the delay between Simon's commands and Cable's ability to execute.
Although, Castle reveals that unlike the other Slayers, Terry Crews won't be controlled by a real human player, meaning no ping and therefore instant reaction time.
So why should this one be any different? Who controls him?
No one.
Gaming.
Cable first lays eyes on Terry in the prison, where he learns that after a string of murders, he seemingly just turned himself in.
And killed himself all kinds of people. And then one day, he just walks up and turns himself in like he wants to be inside or some crazy shit like that.
At the shooting range, Cable explains to one of the prison guards how it feels to be controlled by the player, that it's like you're a robot being moved around, wishing that he had more control.
Completely. They move you around like a robot.
A shirtless Terry finally runs into Cable in the prison bathrooms. He threatens his wife and daughter, then reveals to Cable the fact that he has no player controlling him through the medium of a Pinocchio song.
They got strings, but you can see there are no strings on me.
Cut forward to the start of the 29th match as we see all the Slayers leaving the spawn area. It's here that Cable first realises that he can hear Simon through the voice hack.
Cable, dude, it's me. It's me.
Who?
Simon, I'm playing you.
After some back and forth conflict and the death of Cable's buddy, Simon starts to listen to Cable, allowing him to choose the path around the map. The two of them eventually reach a restricted area, and Cable demands that Simon takes them past it. But of course, Simon informs Cable that the game doesn't physically let him past that point.
It's a restricted area. It's beyond the borders of the game. I couldn't put you there even if I tried.
In the history of the NBA. Stop. And then they won 72 games.
Stop right there.
After a huge explosion, Terry appears out of nowhere. Him, Cable and Simon have a fist fight, but Terry manages to come out on top. He aims his gun down at Cable's head, pulls the trigger, and the movie ends. Nah, I'm just kidding. The match ends before he has time to kill Cable, so Cable kicks him in the balls. But just before he gets dragged away, he tells Simon via voice chat that the only real way he'll defeat Terry is if Simon gives up control of Cable and cuts him loose.
So I can beat them, but not with you controlling me.
What the hell are you talking about?
Turn me loose, kid. You want to win? Turn me loose. Find a way.
Meanwhile, we cut back to Angie, where we find out that she's struggling to win custody of her daughter.
Delia? Her name is Delia.
And that she's been fostered by an extremely rich family.
Your child has been exceedingly well placed. The new family is very wealthy. She will never want for anything. Now, I can understand that you love your daughter.
She gets laughed at and then walks away. Simon is fucking around in his gamer room looking at upgrades for Cable before his screen bugs and he's visited by a massive Ludacris.
No pussy, no shit.
He informs Simon of Castle's plan to kill Cable off and tries to convince Simon to give up control of Cable. Reluctantly, Simon agrees.
It is a game. You want to win it, don't you?
Yeah, I intend to.
Well, then you need to cut your strings, puppet master. Imagine a slayer that don't gotta wait to be told what to do. No ping, because the game's gotta evolve. You feel me?
I do.
One thing I don't understand is how and why was Simon picked to control Cable? Did they just join a random COD lobby and pick a player at random to control Cable? The film just gives no backstory on Simon at all. I mean, let's be real, with all the blood and gore in Slayers, it would most definitely be rated an 18. And in that case, Simon isn't even legally old enough to play the game he's supposedly the best at. Simon isn't the only one that's been paid a visit. Back in his prison cell, Cable is visited a second time. The visitor tells Cable that they know that he's been talking to Simon and reveals Castle's plan to murder him in cold blood. The visitor also mentions to Cable that on the outside, his wife and daughter need his help and that he has to come up with a plan to escape as soon as possible. Cable takes in the newfound info and asks for a singular item.
I need you to get me something.
Cue the start of Game 30, Cable's last match. And what was that singular item, you ask? Well, none other than a bottle of vodka. Cable literally slams the entire bottle and smashes a security camera. The alcohol then somehow takes effect in a couple of seconds, with Cable rolling all around the battlefield. Simon watches the drunk antics from his gamer room.
Kill something!
Eventually, Cable makes his way into a car park, finds a stray car, and then vomits and pisses into the fuel tank.
Pee actually has the same sort of elements that fuel does.
He smashes the window, hotwires the car, and floors that shit. But Terry pounces on the car, frantically trying to blow Cable's brains out. Cable gives him a few swift elbows and smashes him against a concrete pillar. Cable supposedly sobers up instantly, driving the car perfectly out onto the street. There's some more all over the place generic action shots before Cable crashes the car through the map border. He gets caught in a huge blast, and we watch all the people around the world find out that Cable has sadly died.
Initial reports are that Cable, the most recognizable face of the Slayers phenomenon next to Ken Castle himself, is officially listed as fragged, just one session away from being the first Slayer ever to win a full pardon and release.
Gina watches the broadcast from her studio, and after hearing of Cable's death, she sets out to find Cable's wife, Angie, to get more info. Oh yeah, side note, Cable isn't dead. He finds out that it was one of the humans that was paying him a visit in prison, and she takes him to their hideout. Ludacris loses a game of air hockey.
Bullshit, man. You know that's bullshit.
And we discover that the blood sample the humans got from Cable in prison was taken so that they could track him, and also aided in the creation of walkietalkie.exe.
She took my blood. Why?
The Nanex, it modifies the actual cell structure of your brain. We can crack it, but it's not just a one-size-fits-all. We need your DNA so that we can generate custom code.
The humans splurt out some bullshit about the healthcare system and how bad of a person Castle is, but just as Cable is leaving, they reveal they know the location of his wife.
Tell me, we know where she is.
Wow.
Cut to society, where we see that Angie is in some sort of cyberpunk-looking bar, flooded with more unnecessary nudity and strange imagery. In the worst sequence in the entire movie, Angie is approached by a bloke literally called Rick Rape. His surname is Rape, because I guess somebody thought that that was a good idea. The sweaty Reddit man gets horned up again, making Angie flirt with Rick against her will, and they soon end up in a hotel room. But before we can see Rick's prick, Cable comes in and snaps his spine over his knee. He then tries to get through to Angie in a surreal sequence where we watch Gerard Butler talk to a sweaty Redditor through his movie wife.
I have no doubt that Reddit is improving
my life. Cable then tries to help Angie escape, but Terry is in the elevator. He blasts Cable through a window, but thankfully he was wearing the bulletproof vest that Simon purchased for him before he was hacked by Ludacris. Terry drags Angie into the elevator, and after two people walk in and randomly start making out, Terry quickly draws a knife. Angie panics, but the sweaty Reddit man controls her to give Terry the go-ahead. Terry follows orders, and the Reddit man climaxes like he just got top post on r/memes. Cable smashes Terry against a wall, smacks him across the face, blows his foot off, and manages to fend off against Castle security. For saying Terry was meant to be Castle's big plan to kill Cable, he was pretty shit. I mean, multiple opportunities to kill Cable, and he failed every single time. Once outside, Cable asks the Reddit man where to go, and he leads the two of them through a rave. After making it out of the club, Cable and Angie get pulled up on by Gina. They climb into the van, and she reveals that she's on their side, and wants to help them take down Castle, because why not, I guess? The movie doesn't really explain why Gina has any motive to do this. I guess to get a story for a show, but it all seems pretty far-fetched to do all of this just for a news story. Whilst all of this is taking place, we see Simon being interrogated by Keith David. He tries to get to the bottom of how Cable escaped and if Simon had anything to do with it. Overall, they have a pretty in-depth conversation.
Peanut butter, almond butter, walnut butter, pecan butter, pistachio butter, pretty much any kind of, nut butter.
Pistachio butter. They make that?
It's awesome.
Gina takes Cable and Angie back to the humans' hideout, where they take a sample of Angie's blood to try and separate her link from the fat Reddit man. Ludacris takes Cable to one side, where we find out that Castle first tested the mind control technology on Cable's best friend, Corporal Travis Scott, not to be confused with the epic Fortnite rapper Travis Scott. It's also revealed that after Scotch, Cable was the second recipient of the nanite technology during his time in the military. Ludacris also explains to Cable that the humans need to know Castle's motives behind the mind control program, so they strap him to some funky tech so that they can access his memory bank. It's here that we finally learn that the man in the interrogation room was Cable's best pal, the same Travis Scotch. We see Cable draw a gun and shoot Scotch while under mind control from Castle, making sense of Cable's prior flashbacks. Cable is reunited with a freed Angie, but soon learns that the wealthy family that adopted their daughter was actually Ken Castle. Ooh, spooky. Simon gets called out of his prison cell, where we see that his screen room has been flooded with messages calling him a cheater.
What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking Weasley little liar, dude.
And learn that he's been locked out of the Namex.
You have been banned from the Mickey Mouse Club for inappropriate behavior.
As night falls, through the power of shitty green screen, Cable manages to sneak into Castle's mansion on the mission to get his daughter back. He eventually locates her, quickly running up to her before he finds out that she's locked behind a screen. Cable wanders down a flight of stairs where he's met by Castle, that then breaks into a musical number.
I've got you under my skin.
And however much I hate to admit it, ignoring how weird it is, this scene was actually pretty good. Just the eerie song in the background as Cable fights Castle's men works really well. Sure, the camera is still all over the place, but the lighting along with the choreography actually kind of just makes the scene. A good scene in Gamer, how dare he, unsubscribed.
Fucking piece of shit.
During the fight scene, we see that Castle's men have raided the humans' hideout and kills them all with the power of flashing lights. Cable finally comes face to face with Castle.
You're awesome.
But before anything happens, Castle reminds Cable that he has his daughter hostage, so that he better not pull any funny business.
You just want your little sugar pie, I know. So don't do anything stupid. My house, my rules.
As Castle leads Cable onto his private basketball court, he explains that years back, he replaced 98% of his own consciousness with nanites, meaning that he can control others at will and not be controlled himself.
I'm wired too. I replaced 98% of my own noodle nanotissue years ago. To transmit, whereas every other nanocell that I put out there, including the ones in your head, Cable, designed to receive. I think it, and you do it.
Suddenly, along comes Terry, whose foot has magically healed overnight. This time, Castle is controlling him. He finally has a chance to kill Cable, but yet again, Cable beats the living shit out of him, breaking his arm, smacking him round the face, and then snapping his neck. Cable then picks up Terry's knife and approaches Castle. Castle rips his shirt off and the two go to battle. Cable swipes at him, somehow leaving a Wolverine-esque wound with a singular blade, and it soon becomes apparent that Castle has control of Cable and has paralysed him in place. He marches Angie and her daughter into the court and attempts to make Cable kill them both.
Just like last time, remember?
But Cable fights the urge, slamming the knife down, Castle seemingly losing control. Cable lunges at Castle but becomes locked in place yet again. It turns out that Gina, of all people, had somehow survived the human slaughter and managed to re-enable Simon's Nanex, allowing him to take control of Cable. Simon, now in control of Cable, drives the knife into Castle, dropping to the floor, dead.
Oops.
Also, it turns out that all of this was being broadcast live to the nation, where everybody cheers for Castle's death. It seems that everybody in this universe just loves to watch murder on TV. Cable is reunited with his family, they live happily ever after, and the title credits roll. All 10 minutes of them. 10 minutes of the movie's runtime is credits. How did it take this many people to make a movie this shit? Overall, Gamer is a movie that, if written well, might have had an ounce of potential. The movie is basically just 90 minutes of watching talented actors play two-dimensional shallow characters with motives that make no real sense and are just there to drive forward the shitty plot. None of the performances were exactly bad, but even an Oscar-worthy acting performance couldn't save this movie. It's a mess of jarring camera shots, excessive generic action scenes, along with a myriad of unanswered plot holes. Not to mention, the film basically insults the people that it's named after. I guess it's just another bad movie to add to Neville, Dean and Taylor's portfolio, and more proof that anything with the word gamer attached to it is never a good thing.
How was Gamer?
Well, I didn't like it. I didn't like the...
Did you leave the theater early?
Yeah. I like action, but it's not well put together, I don't think.
I give it 2 stars out of 10. Seriously? And with all of that said, goodbye!